Round 11 of the Dunlop Ford Fiesta Championship for 2012, and the 6th pole position of the year for Jason Cooper. What an incredible run we have had from Cooper. Another driver looking to, I guess, move up the ranks in saloon car racing. Cooper on pole, Nick Bowers, his championship rival alongside. Row 2, Jordan Annals and Sean Clay, Joanne Eason and Aaron Trigwell on the third row. They're followed by Nick Pope and Kevin Sterling. Then it's David Abbott and John Langridge back in 10th place. James Appleby 11th. Ronaldus de Bressa completing the top dozen. Paul Clackett and Andy Wilmot on row 7. Sagir Hussain, Jody Bocock following him. And then Dawn Boyd in 14th. A 10-second penalty and 21st effectively placed on the grid for Andrew Taylor. Taylor's car having been found to be underweight after a wet qualifying session, a very late downpour catching out some of the drivers, so in some respects a mixed up grid to what we're used to, although come rain or shine, it's Jason Cooper in car number 35 who takes pole position again, the championship leader. Nick Bowers alongside. Bowers potentially with a good start from the outside here at Brands Hatch. Away they go. You can see Andrew Taylor sitting at the back of the grid waiting for his off. Let's see what we can do as they go. Good manoeuvre from Dawn Boyd, passing a couple of the guys as they go around paddock for the first time. Nick Bowers looking up the inside, but it's Cooper in the white and blue 35 car, the championship leader, who is side by side with Nick Bowers. And a spin. Off goes car number 69, Ronaldus de Bressa. He's off. Other car involved there as well. Sean Clay in car number 96 is in the mix as well, so he will have to try and get going from there. But it's Jason Cooper who emerges from it all in lead position. Nick Bowers in second place. Aaron Trigwell third at the moment. So Trigwell in white. You can see sponsorship needed. Many of these drivers would love to get backers to take them further up the motor racing ladder for sure. But look at the gap that the first three have put between themselves and the fourth place man, which I suspect might be Kevin Sterling. Let's have a look as they come across the line. Kevin Sterling in the 53 car, the ex-David Grady championship winning car from last year. And this is now the leading lady in the field, Dawn Boyd, who I think by my reckoning is in 11th place at the moment. So we've got Jason Cooper still out front and Dawn at the moment chasing Paul Clackett, and that'll be Nick Pope up in front of them as well. So good stuff from Dawn in this one. What we can't see at the moment is if anyone's behind her. It's going to be, I think, Ronaldus de Bressa and Kevin Sterling down behind. So again, we'll wait and try and pick that up when we see the track shot rather than the onboard. Certainly just checking the mirrors, as indeed Dawn is, to see if we can see anything there, and we can't from that onboard camera angle. But here's the man who's leading the race, doing a sensational job as ever. Now normally if you'd be watching a race and you see the Silver 3 car behind, you think that David Abbott was in second position, but he's got problems, and David Abbott in the Silver 3, the Silver Fox, finds himself a lap down on Jason Cooper. A very, very unusual situation there, but Cooper pulling away. 56.21 his best lap. Aaron Trigwell 57.045. Jordan Annals 56.342 running well. We haven't seen too much of Jordan in this race, but he's there and having a good run. The 17-year-old from Tunbridge Wells, so local round for him. And good to see him back on circuit. Annals in the number 5 car, having had a few rounds away, and a clash here for Joanne Eason again. Goodness me, Joanne Eason has really been in the wars in this race as Jason Cooper comes up to lap her again. Not a sight that we're used to seeing. So Sagir Hussain and Joanne Eason coming to blows on circuit. I think Joanne would be rightly a little bit miffed. I suspect that the pit lane interviewer won't want to have a chat with her afterwards, because I don't think she'll be too happy. Through on the inside of Kevin Sterling goes the race leader. Now Sterling was up with these, had problems as well. He finds himself a lap down, and Jason Cooper it is that's on his way to another win in the 35 car. Win number 6 is what he's aiming for here. Now I said we hadn't seen too much of Jordan Annals, and here he is at 4th place at the moment behind Nick Bowers. So Bowers a little bit squirrely there as he comes through clearways onto Clark Curve and onto the Brabham straight. Annals trying to hunt him down. Local driver, as we said, did the first 2 rounds of the year. 7th position at Silverstone in race number 2. A retirement in race 1. Retirement in the first race at Snet. 16th in the second race. We haven't seen him since then, so good to see him here and battling hard for a podium position on his home circuit. This looks like it might be a bit of a run. There is Annals in the number 5 car. Looks to the inside line, doesn't work for him there. Nick Bowers, very difficult man to pass. Second in the championship. John Langridge, of course, he's third in the championship. He's running in, I think, 6th position at the moment. So a quiet race for Langridge. Another driver caught out by the conditions in qualifying. And of course, when you get changeable conditions, you've got to say it's the guys with experience and the cunning and the know-how that come through. Bowers was one of those drivers, and Jason Cooper 1-2. Masterly performance. You've got to say that qualifying saved them a lot of work in the race, but Jordan Annals running well. Let's see what Annals could do. Qualified 3rd, so he's actually come back into this one in a big way, Jordan. Not a great start for him, but now challenging to get that position back on Nicholas Bowers. Car number 51, the youngster from Stafford, running in a Daniels Motorsport prepared car. As we've said before on the programme, a mechanic for West Midlands Ambulance Service, and hanging on to 3rd place at the moment. You can see the gap that the 2nd place man Aaron Trigwell has pulled on this pair. Jaron Eason, I'm pleased to say, has rejoined. Now, as you would have realised from seeing Jason Cooper go past, she's a lap down, but she's still running in 14th place. 3 retirements thus far. Sagir Hussain, Sean Clay, car number 96, front runner in previous rounds, and Jodie Bocott. Let's hope that those drivers will be back out for race 2, but here they come. The scrap very much on for 3rd place, and Nick Bowers hanging on to it at the moment. Just catch a little glimpse of Aaron Trigwell, probably a dozen or so lengths clear of these 2, up across the line again. Race leader Jason Cooper 17 seconds clear of Aaron Trigwell in 2nd place. That is such a dominant performance when you consider that he's carrying ballast. And how long ago was it we saw David Abbott lapped, and David about to be passed by the 3rd and 4th place drivers now. David, of course, ever the gentleman driver, knows when he's got a problem, doesn't interfere, gets out of the way. Good stuff from him, and it doesn't affect our little battle for 3rd position. Very nearly 4 wheels over there for Nick Bowers. I'd say taking it right to the limit as far as the track marker goes. The white line, let's watch them as they go up through clearways. Annals is going to take the single-seater racing line, and that might afford him a little bit more momentum. The Skevington back car, wide line again as they come through the Clark Curve, but we're going back to the race leader, Jason Cooper. Well, the leader's heading down towards the start-finish line, and Cooper already at Druids, down through Graham Hill Bend. Nobody to play with, a real Billy No-Mates here, but he is Mr. Happy inside the car, looking for that 6th win, and surely it's only going to be mechanical failure that could rob that now. I can't honestly see Jason Cooper losing this one. Calm as you like. We've seen him get involved in the mix and race hard. That's what these 2 are doing for 3rd place. Aaron Trigwell on his own, of course, ahead of these 2, and on his way to 2nd place. Who's going to get 3rd? Nick Bowers at the moment is have to be where your money is, but there's a little challenge here on the last lap, and Jordan Annals goes through at Surtees. Annals waits for the last lap and goes through a classic overtake here at Brands Hatch on the inside at Surtees. Can he hang on to it? Yes, he does. Lifts the rear wheel, but he's got in front, and Nick Bowers passed on the last lap. As we go back and see, well, it was the penultimate lap, wasn't it? Because those guys, of course, haven't crossed the line yet. So Jason Cooper is well on his way down from Druids on the last lap. This has been absolutely spot on for him. He's got the fastest lap of the race. That was back on lap 11, unless he improves now, 56.211, and converted his pole position into a very early lead. He was, of course, challenged in the opening corner by Nick Barton. Class A and B. Nick Bowers, of course. Here he comes, checkered flag, number 6 of the year, up across the line, and Jason Cooper extends his championship lead in the Dunlop Ford Fiesta Championship for Class C, the STs, and look at the gap. We wait. We're still waiting, and finally into view comes the second place driver, Aaron Trigwell. Lights on, second place for Aaron, car number 94. Trigwell, race winner at Donington, takes second position for I think his third podium of the year, and third position goes the way of Jordan Annals there, ahead of Nick Bowers. Jason Cooper, the winner, by 17 seconds from Aaron Trigwell. Jordan Annals in third with Nick Bowers fourth. They were followed by Andy Wilmot and Andrew Taylor from the back of the grid. John Langridge in seventh from James Appleby. Nick Pope ninth. Then Paul Clackett and Dawn Boyd. Ronaldo Stabressa in 12th position. 13th was Kevin Sterling. Joanne Easton finally got the car home in 14th place, ahead of David Abbott.
I was on pole position. Everyone was kind of looking at me at the start to see what tyres I was on. I think half the grid kind of went slicks and the others gambled on some wets in the rear, which as soon as I got on the track I was pretty confident I'd made the right call, and then it was really just holding on for the first couple of corners and the first couple of laps just to hold my advantage, and then I knew I would be able to pull away from those with the wets on quite easily.
Welcome to another episode of Racing No Filter. Joining me in sunny California, Bill Wood, and down in sunny Florida, Peter King.
We're going to take a look at some of the products HPD has created for the 2012 Honda Civic, and specifically we're going to show you how to install an adjustable sway bar.
Until then, folks out there, you take care.
Want to keep up with all the racing action at the track? Well, download the new Go Racing TV iPhone and Android app. And remember to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Well, a good turnout of cars this weekend at Brands Hatch means that classes A and B have their own race once again. The cars coming out of the holding area ready for 20 minutes of action on the Indy circuit. And pole position going to Nick Barton with Ken Bateman alongside. Chris Tomazis and Keith Chapman row 2, Michelle Edwards and Terry Scruton on the third row. Fourth row, Rex Nye. Next to him is Rory Green. Then it's Ian Scruton and David Elsom. Peter Lloyd and Jack Williams on row 6. The grid completed by Richard Beach. Got to say, very mixed conditions out there. It's stopped raining, but there is still an awful lot of water on circuit, and in terms of qualifying, I cannot remember the last time we had two Class B cars annexing the front row of the grid for an A and B race. Don't think it's happened while I've been commentating on the championship, which is about 4 years. So Nick Barton, a great performance in qualifying, overall pole for him. Ken Bateman alongside, a good attempt from him. Chris Tomazis, the Class A pole, is third on the grid. You can see the white and blue car, and he's outside Keith Chapman, third in Class B. If they were all in the same class, what a competitive championship it will be. I mean, it's competitive anyway, but just within the two separate classes. Green flag from the back of the field. Second in Class A was Terry Scruton. He's in red and yellow on the outside of row 3. On his inside, in blue, is Michelle Edwards. Then it's Rex Nye returning to the championship, Class A. And Rory Green, another Class B driver. So the B's really to the fore in the wet weather, but a great start. Everybody gets away. Paddock Hill's going to be nerve-wracking, probably Druids as well. Cracking start by Terry Scruton from the third row. He's up into third position, so he's taken about 3 places. He's up into second. Scruton, but he goes straight on. Now that would have been a non-finish last year because there was loads of the gravel line's been pushed back. The gravel track's been pushed back here, and that would have been probably a safety car, maybe a restart a couple of seasons ago, but the reprofiling of Druids, very sensible in my opinion, giving us that little bit of extra leeway for the drivers to make an error, and Terry Scruton comes out of that pretty well in third place from third on the grid. The whole field making it around. As I say, it would have been a safety car for sure. 55, Ken Bateman, front row of the grid, dropped back a couple of positions. into the clutches of car number 17. Keith Chapman started on the outside of the front row, so he's lost a couple of places just now. The overall race leader is now Chris Tomazas. Second position, Nick Barton, the pole position man. And Terry Scruton has dealt with those. This is the view from Keith Chapman. 55 Ken Bateman on his outside. Makes the move, a little wobble there from the 55 car. Ken Bateman dropping back from his front row position, and Keith Chapman certainly seems to be the man on the move at the moment for Class B. There is the class leader in front. Class leader Nick Barton, 159 points in the championship. Keith Chapman with 108 at the moment, just 6 points clear of Ken Bateman on 102. So things pretty close in the Class B Z-Tex. Well, the race leader Chris Tomazas, good to see him having a run here. He's taken one win so far this year. That was back at our last round at Rockingham, race 2 at Rockingham. And the championship leader, if you're wondering where David Elsom is, the Cambridgeshire man, is that he had a very disappointing session in changeable conditions, qualified in 10th place, so he'll be looking to carve his way through the field. And of course, not only has he got to work through the faster Class A cars that faster than him in qualifying, but also the Class Bs as well. So Keith Chapman through into the lead of Class B. That's the move. This is the man that's lost the lead, Nick Barton, and out in front of him Keith Chapman in the red 17 car goes through, but Nick Barton's going to challenge back on the outside as they come up to Druids. Down the gears, on the brakes, turn in. It's all to no avail though, because Keith Chapman annexes the class lead. A class move by Chapman, who hasn't had a class win so far this year. Nick Barton trying to hunt down Rex Nye. Conditions still a little bit on the damp side. Can't see at the moment any dry line appearing on circuit. Just caught a glimpse of Michelle Edwards going through in blue. There is the 59 car, Ken Bateman. Michelle Edwards at the moment running third in Class B. So he is on for another podium. Took a podium in the first round of the championship. Very rarely off the podium, it has to be said. In fact, I think just the once so far this year in terms of finishes. That was fifth in race 2 at Silverstone, one retirement at Rockingham. Apart from that, Edwards has been very consistent. He's fourth in the championship with 91 points as we look at car number 55. Ken Bateman, third in the championship, 6 points behind Keith Chapman, who at the moment is leading this one. So Keith is running well. Keith with one retirement which he'll drop, and aside from that I think his worst score was 4th position, and he's had a few of those, so he's not going to drop that many points. Ken Bateman on the other hand didn't race at Cadwell Park, so those will be his two drop scores, but he's had a retirement as well which was at Rockingham, so that's going to affect his points score. As we look at Peter Lloyd Beach there, managed to, it was lap 7 when he went out. Oh, so we have got a safety car deployed after all to recover Peter's car. I think the race organisers hoping that things wouldn't pan out that way, but not too many cars, and the cars that there are there were reasonably well spaced out, so I think there was too much danger of somebody immediately going off. So the safety car gets scrambled, and a little chance of a breather for the race leader Chris Tomazas out front. Terry Scruton in second. This is going to close up some of the gaps. If the circuit's drying, we could see some position swapping once we get going again. There is Michelle Edwards going through shot. Safety car lights now off here at Brands Hatch. We're about to go racing again. As we said, the safety car time is included in the 20 minutes that the cars are allocated, so it's very much in the driver's interest to keep on circuit. Chris Tomazas leading, Terry Scruton in second place. There is Keith Chapman leading Class B in the red number 17 car. And here they come, waved yellows at the moment. They're not really allowed to break ranks or go too silly at this stage until they cross the line and take the green flag, which they do now. The race is back underway, and Chris Tomazas coming under immediate pressure from Terry Scruton as they go through paddock. Scruton in his first full season of racing. Looks to the outside line, wide line here. Chris Tomazas, of course, a bit more of an old stager in the Fiestas and handling things pretty well. So Tomazas will hang on to the lead in the 48 car. This is the view from Terry Scruton. Very relaxed driving style. Quick look in the mirror to see what's going on behind him. Changes up along Cooper Straight. You can see the Brands Hatch offices in the distance, which they'll come around to in a minute, but we're into McLaren, into Clearways. He's taking the slightly tighter line. That won't give him the best exit. Problem there for Rex Nye, who's going to drop down the order. Oh, it's disappointing for Rex, who was looking like he might be on for a possible podium, because remember, he's running in Class A, so we were expecting he might catch up with Keith Chapman. He has got going again, which is good news for Rex, but not good for his race here. I'm wondering if that was something to do with being involved in traffic immediately after the restart. Chris Tomazis, though, continues on his way. This has been a good drive from Tomazis so far. He's got the fastest lap in Class A as well. Class B fastest lap with Michelle Edwards, believe it or not, 103.953, running in third position in class behind Nick Barton. Keith Chapman still out front, so plenty of competitive action going on in the classes. But Chris Tomazis, you can see drying line now beginning to appear. The Class B cars should be able to work that. They've got to go off the drying line to go past. But the Class B cars have still done superbly in this meeting, I've got to say. So Tomazis pulling away once again from Terry Scruton. And on to the last lap they go. Terry Scruton in the 62 car. A win seems to be a little bit elusive for him at the moment. He's had several podia, second position at Cadwell Park, a brace of second positions at Cadwell. I'm sure the win's going to come before too long. There's David Elsom at the back of shot. He's still going. So David in 11th position at the moment. I think the last of the runners on track, trying to hunt down Richard Beach, another newcomer in Class A, car number 22, along with Jack Williams having his first meeting. Jack joining Peter Lloyd on the sidelines, which is a great shame for this race, but will no doubt bounce back for race 2. But let's go back to the front. It's been a great drive from Chris Tomazis, who had the Class A pole. He started on the second row of the grid behind the Class Bs, dealt with those very quickly, and hasn't looked back. He hasn't been challenged at all. It's been a good race from the second place man Terry Scruton, but even better from Chris Tomazis, who takes class pole, win and fastest lap, and that's going to close the gap on David Elsom in the points. The pressure as we approach the closing stages of the season is very much on David Elsom. Let's see what he can deliver in race number 2. Rest of the field come across the line. Nick Barton, Michelle Edwards crossing the line now. Down behind them it's Ken Bateman. Rex Nye, you can just see in the distance, having recovered from his moment, but here's confirmation of that result. Tomazis and Scruton. Keith Chapman wins Class B from Ian Scruton in Class A. Nick Barton second in B from Michelle Edwards, who picks up a B podium. 7th place Ken Bateman from Rex Nye. Rory Green in 9th place. Richard Beach 10th. And Class A Championship leader David Elsom picking up some valuable points in 11th place.
Conditions are very slippery. Basically made the right choice of tyres. A lot of guys went all wets. Some of us went wets and slicks at the back, and obviously that was the choice I made. And overall, even though it dried out towards the end, the car got really light and slippery, managed to hold it and win the race.
I'd managed to pull out quite a lead because I think I was on wets and quite a few of the others got slicks or a combination of slicks and wet, so it gave me the advantage. But then obviously it closed up a bit with the safety cars. Didn't really need it at the time, but while it was going around, I was actually hoping to a certain extent it might rain again because the track was starting to dry out then. But fortunately, I managed to get a decent restart and hold the lead. There wasn't too long to go to the end, and just stay there. Just had to keep it on the track to get there in the end.
Cars coming into line for round 12 of the Dunlop Ford Fiesta Championship for 2012, and this one, the reversed grid, sees Nick Bowers start on pole position. Alongside Nick, Jordan Annals, then it's Aaron Trigwell and race 1 winner Jason Cooper. On the third row, Andy Wilmot and Andrew Taylor. John Langridge lines up 7th with James Appleby, could finish for him in race 1. He's 8th, then Nick Pope, Paul Clackett, Dawn Boyd and Ronaldus de Bresser. Kevin Sterling next from Joanne Eason, then it's David Abbott and Sagir Hussain. Sean Clay and Jodie Bocott lining up in 18th place. That completes our grid. Safety vehicle at the back of the field, just there in case there are any problems off the start. The green flag about to be waved. And 20 minutes of Dunlop Ford Fiesta Championship action. Nick Bowers, you've got to be brave to bet against him from pole position. The reverse grid seeding the 4th place man in race number 1. That front row start, it's a cracking start by everybody. We're going saloon car racing here at Brands Hatch. There in the mix is Dawn Boyd in red. As you can see, they've all got away well. They've made it around Paddock Hill Bend the first time. Paul Clackett in car number 8 gets a good start, stuck on the outside line. But Jason Cooper from 4th on the grid. There's problems for the Silver Fox. David Abbott in the background, but Jason Cooper's coming through. Andrew Wilmot getting involved there with one of the WDE cars as well. A little bit of contact between the two. I think that was 94, Aaron Trigwell, that he was involved with. So a little tag on Trigwell going into Druids by Wilmot. It hasn't done Wilmot any favours, to be fair. And it's dropped him back as Trigwell looks at the inside line, but we're looking at Nick Bowers still leading from Jordan Annals in car number 5. These two resuming battle from earlier on, and Jason Cooper must have turned the turbo up on the car because he's absolutely away, flying away with it. Jodie Bocott, here we go, left-hand drive car as you mentioned in race number 1, and good to see this young racer involved. This one an ex-rally car, so car they put together themselves, and left-hand drive, so a good bit of practice for touring cars for sure. And Jodie running well, nice to see an onboard from him. Thanks to him for letting us have that. 51 goes through in 2nd position. Nick Bowers still running strongly. There is car number 8, Paul Clackett in the mix. That's Jodie's teammate. And Andrew Wilmot getting back involved with Aaron Trigwell, the 18-year-old. Had a good race in race number 1, coming home in 2nd place. And this is the Class A champion, John Langridge, getting a bit of coaching from last year's champion David Grady, so I understand. So John will be looking at this, his first full season in the STs, and hopefully coming back in 2013 to have another play and I guess move a little bit further up the ladder. Trigwell and Wilmot, this is shaping up to be a nice little scrap between these two. Wilmy, who told me before the meeting started, and we mentioned in race number 1, he's hoping to move up the racing ladder, does a bit of instructing around the circuit, so certainly knows his way around. And at the moment he's got a little bit of work to do here, with Trigwell getting very defensive at the present time, and this is maybe allowing John Langridge to get in the mix as well. The number 7 car started in 7th position in this race. Jason Cooper away and down the road, though, the race leader once again. Who could stop Cooper? He's just absolute superb form at the moment. Wilmot, look how close he gets as they come up into clearways. He's going to look at the inside line. So Wilmot going for the inside line, but coming down across him was Trigwell. And into the wall. That is a nasty hit for Aaron Trigwell. And it says sponsors needed on the side of the car. He definitely needs them even more now. Well, looking from the camera angle, those two, well, they were really hard at it into Druids on the first lap. Understandably, red flags out. The key thing is Aaron okay. Yes, he is moving. He's out of the car. And look at that frustration. Well, it's always difficult to call a racing incident, but from the angle we were looking at, and it was only the angle we were looking at, it did look like he was coming across as Wilmot tried to go up the inside. So whether he knew he was there or not, I don't know. That no doubt will be thrashed out in the clerk of the course's office afterwards, or indeed in the paddock between the two drivers. But it means a red flag and a restart, and it's the significant thing is it's eaten into the racing time for the guys, because normally a 20-minute race, but of course we've got that stoppage, and it now means that the organisers have said, well, track time of premium here. We've got neighbours nearby who obviously don't want the noise going on all day. So the race is now going to be cut down to 12 minutes. So 12 minutes of racing, and the grid forming up the way the cars were effectively at the time of the incident, which means that we've got Jason Cooper now on pole position as he'd got into the lead from 4th on the grid. There is the green flag. Slightly depleted field, sadly, coming out and getting ready to race. Jason Cooper, the man looking for a double this weekend. Does he make a good start? Well, Nick Bowers does. Sometimes the outside perceived as being a faster starting point at Brands Hatch, and Nick Bowers makes that work for him. The rest of them going through paddock safe and sound. Good start from all of them, and Bowers is coming through, and has he made that stick? He's got across. Nick Bowers leads, and there's Andy Wilmot, who's involved in that skirmish coming down through the Clark curve. He's up into 3rd place. John Langridge is 4th. And they come down to Graham Hill Bend for the first time, and Jason Cooper, I think, is going to feel a little bit aggrieved, having worked up that lead in the first part of the race. Now, we've seen Cooper lead, we've seen him pass Nick Bowers already once in this meeting, and let's see what he can do here into Surtees. The one thing you won't see, I don't think, is impetuosity from Jason Cooper. He'll pick his moment. He'll know it's a reduced race distance of 12 minutes. That should equate to around about a dozen laps, maybe one more, of the Indy circuit here at Brands. You can see the cement dust or equivalent having been put down to soak up the fluid from that nasty incident involving Aaron Trigwell. Sincerely hope he's going to be back. WD really putting a good car under him this weekend to take second in race number 1. How quickly fortunes can change in any sort of motor racing, but especially in this very dramatic Dunlop Ford Fiesta Championship. Through Druids they all go. And it's Nick Bowers who's looking for the reverse grid win here in car number 51. Jason Cooper all over him at the moment. Bowers, of course, the winner at Cadwell Park. And Jason Cooper, who was fastest in qualifying, fastest and race winner in race number 1. And you've got to say the form man, leading the championship with 164 points coming into this meeting. And looking to try and build on that, Andrew Wilmot. Here comes Cooper down the inside line. Little bit of a squirrely moment then as he went through the dust. I thought he was going to make the move down the inside, but Bowers hangs on to it. Staffordshire youngster still in lead position. Down Halewoods they go, up towards Druids. It was a great start from the outside by Nick Bowers, and Cooper's got all the work to do again, exploring the different lines, slightly wider at Druids. Down Graham Hill Bend we go. John Langridge still there, back in 4th position, and Jason Cooper's going to tuck in now, maybe go for a run up towards Surtees. He's drawing level with him, and the front wheel's level, and he's through. Great manoeuvre by Jason Cooper, who started that one as he came down the hill, wider line out of Graham Hill Bend, and goes through into the lead. The 35 car exceptionally well set up, brilliantly driven by Jason Cooper into lead position. Out of Druids down towards Graham Hill Bend, and Appleby heading this 3-car train at the moment. Nick Pope on for a good finish here as well. Down behind them, as we said, Sean Clay in car number 96. Sean took a 4th position and a 6th at Rockingham. Prior to that, his first podium was at Snetterton in race 2. So Appleby's got himself up amongst the podium finishers now, and ahead of some of them actually in this race. Just pause for a moment to listen to the cars go past our pit lane camera here. If you ever get the chance to watch from the pit lane, very exhilarating place, particularly, well, racing or qualifying, to be absolutely honest. And here's a man that you'd want to watch doing the honours from there. 35, Jason Cooper, win number 7 elect on the cards here. He's again opened up a gap. It's about 4 seconds at the moment for Cooper, who is going to extend his championship lead. He's had some rough moments in the championship. He had some rotten luck last year. Crosses the line and onto the last lap. Jason, of course, a non-finisher at Cadwell Park. What it does mean is he's going to have to drop a 5th position. His worst finish is 5th position, so that's what he's going to have to drop. So he's got a lot of points to drop, but he's got a good clear set of points over Nick Bowers in car number 51. Nick has been very consistent. He'll drop 2 races, and Nick Bowers will drop at the moment a brace of 6 positions, which is more points, I think, to drop than Jason Cooper. He's on his last lap, and we'll head to Snetterton, thinking about perhaps being able to wrap up the championship there if at all possible. It has happened before in Fiesta racing, but I suspect the championship might go all the way to our return here at Brands Hatch, and the man who's had the best weekend to line up for that is Jason Cooper, who takes the checkered flag. Cooper wins round 12 of the championship. Nick Bowers will be second ahead of Andrew Wilmot. It's a podium for Wilmy. The order getting shaken up in this race for sure. Fourth place goes to John Langridge, and it's fifth place for James Appleby. Across the line, season best, career best for James Appleby. Nick Pope gets his best ST result of the season too, in sixth position. Confirmation of Cooper's win and fastest lap. Nick Bowers second from Wilmot, Andy Wilmot third, John Langridge fourth from James Appleby, Nicholas Pope in sixth. Then it was Sean Clay and Paul Clackett from Jordan and Nels, David Abbott, Kevin Sterling coming through for 11th, Jody Bocott, great racing from him. He finished in 12th place ahead of Dawn Boyd, Joanne Eason 14th and Ronaldo Stabressa in 15th. The championship continues to be led by Jason Cooper, 199 points, playing Nick Bowers on 169, John Langridge on 153 in third place.
Yeah, it was very close. Just managed to get a good start and get past Jason on the restart. Managed to tuck in front of him and just managed to hold him off for the first 3 or 4 laps, but he just had too much pace this weekend.
I got the bonus points for pole position and the 2 fastest lap points as well, so it's a maximum points, so I'm well chuffed.
Want to keep up with all the racing action at the track? Well, download the new Go Racing TV iPhone and Android app. And remember to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Race 2 for the A and Bs, and it's Chris Tomazis on pole, Terry Scruton alongside the Class B pole, Keith Chapman with Ian Scruton alongside him. Then it's Nick Barton and Michelle Edwards. Ken Bateman on row 4, Rex Nye on his outside, Richard Beach and David Elsom on the 5th row. Jack Williams and Peter Lloyd, they're on the 6th row of the grid, and the Hurstpier Point car being driven by Thomas Hopkinson. Another good reason to have a college car is that you can, of course, share the car, as we've seen the Hurstpier Point boys do thus far this year. Henry Austin Groom, Thomas Hopkinson, Patrick Haynes and Rory Green having done the driving duties. Here's the onboard view from David Elsom. Look at that great start from Elsom, passes Rex Nye. Now these two are going to be in direct competition in this one in Class A, but Nye gets up through the gears, outside, he's got the line, he's got the initiative, and rockets off ahead of the Class Championship leader, David Elsom. There's a problem for Chris Tomazis, who's off. Now whether there was a bang there, we've got a green flag. What a disappointment for the race 1 winner, Chris Tomazis, who finds himself, well, let's hope he can rejoin and get back involved. But what an eventful start as we look at Scruton coming under pressure from Ken Bateman. Well, it's all gone off at the front, hasn't it? And the race leader is Nick Barton. So we've got drying conditions, much drier than race number 1, and you'd have expected the Class Bs to have done better there. There's the Daniels Motorsport car of David Elsom, who seems to be a little bit more prolific in this race. It's a much, much better start for him. Conditions dry, nothing for him to get caught out. Chris Tomazis has rejoined, by the looks of things. So he will be able to try and climb his way through the field. Race leaders going down through Paddock Hill Bend, and it's Nicholas Barton leading. Now I'll express my surprise because we have got a dry circuit. Normally you would expect the Class A cars to be revelling in that, but a driver of the quality of Nick Barton will take his car to the fore whenever he can. He's certainly doing that at the moment. Go back down the order, 62, Terry Scruton. He's there having a few problems, back with 17, Keith Chapman, the Class B winner from the first race of the day. It looks like he's got a bit more work to do here. Maybe marking himself out as a wet weather. Always a a driver that can pick up those results in the wet, always a standout for me. It was a terrific drive from Keith Chapman in race number 1. Driving well here again in race number 2, but a little bit further back with Nick Barton leading the race overall. He's going to pick up the points and possibly extend his championship lead. 159 place, 108 coming into the weekend. And you can see bright skies, a little bit of blue sky poking its way through the clouds. So Ian Scruton in second position at the moment, coming under pressure from Ken Bateman. In fact, Bateman he goes straight on. I thought he was going over to the Grand Prix circuit there for a moment. Grand Prix circuit, which cuts back behind Druids. It's just a short walk. If you're ever here watching on a meeting that's running the Grand Prix configuration, you can watch some of it at Druids and then just walk across the bridge and watch the cars go up the straight. Now, problem there, I think, possibly for Terry Scruton, who passes the 22 car of Richard Beach. On board with Peter Lloyd, car number 12, of course the non-finisher in race 1. Enjoying his race and about to just pop a move on Richard Beach. Got a 22 car in front of him. So both of these guys relative newcomers to the championship. Peter Lloyd running in Class B, Richard Beach running in Class A. Doesn't matter where you are, there's someone to dice with in the championship. And there's Rex Nye making progress. Scruton's got the line going up into Surtees and he's through. Ian Scruton gets his nose in front, but fighting back is Nick Barton on the inside. The Class B car against the odds comes through. Still the 54 car of Ian Scruton in second position. He's hanging on to that. He's got the inside line as they come through Clark Curve onto the Brabham Straight and should have the grunt to come through, but so too is Rex Nye. They're 3 wide as they go across the line, and who's going to emerge in front? Scruton with his nose on front into Paddock Hill Bend. Nick Barton's down to 3rd place, but it's still Ian Scruton the race leader. Rex Nye on his return to the championship. Well, he's hardly race rusty at all. There's Jack Williams in car number 20, the back marker, newcomer to the championship. He's going to be gobbled up by 3 leaders. That could be a nerve-wracking moment for him. Never mind Ian Scruton, who's out front. I don't think has taken an overall circuit win so far. Scruton, as we said, won the class at Cadwell Park. He's had 1 retirement so far this year and a non-start at Silverstone when he rolled the car in qualifying. And he's still hanging on to the race lead. So Jack Williams will have a look in his mirror and no doubt be aided and abetted by the blue flags being shown by the marshals. But here comes Rex Nye. Look at this wide move. This is surely going to be more momentum for Nye, but the way on the outside is blocked by the rookie driver who signals to the outside. The rookie's done exactly the right thing. Good driving from Jack Williams. Through go the first 2. Nick Barton dropping back as we would expect in Class B. What a cracking scrap we've got for Class A though. And Rex Nye really putting the race leader under pressure. Ian Scruton there. Nye goes to the inside line. He's going to make a move down the inside. No, he's too far back as they go into Druids. Thought maybe Nye would have taken more of a racing line, a sweep around the outside at Druids, but he's got to be mindful of Nick Barton, who's closing in again in 3rd place, because if Barton gets between, he's not going to take any points potentially away from Rex Nye, but he will take away a little bit of track between himself and the leader. And I've got to say, Ian Scruton is leading this one very well at the moment. Goes a little bit defensive here. Let's have a look at his line as he goes up towards Clearways. And he's going for the racing line. Hats off to Scruton. Goes for the racing line. Leaves a bit of room on the inside, but is that going to give him more momentum? Rex Nye, in theory, shouldn't get more momentum here. And it doesn't pan out that way, so he's going to have to plan his challenge again on the next lap. Up across the line they go again. So Scruton still there. And goes through. So Scruton out front in 54. Rex Nye in 2nd position. Nick Barton is in 3rd place. David Elsom and Chris Tomazis back in the pack, are busy racing hard. David Elsom's come through to pick up some useful points as well, and he's got himself ahead of Tomazis, which is good news for him. So the championship leader getting back in front of his main rival in terms of championship points a little way down the order. But Ian Scruton still hanging on to this one in 54. Man from the south coast. What a great bit of defensive driving. We're coming up on some more back markers. We've got Richard Beach in the mix as well. I think Thomas Hopkinson So those guys coming up the dip there. We've got warning flags going out to drivers, which I'm being told is down to excessive track limits, so we'll keep an eye on that situation. There is David Elsom going through, Chris Tomazas following him. Ken Bateman goes through as well. This has really been a super little racer coming up under the back markers who are having their own race, and it's Ian Scruton in 54. We lost his son Terry earlier on. Thomas Hopkinson still in the mix as well at the moment. Blue flags being waved, as you can see, to the back marker drivers. There is Thomas Hopkinson, moves out of the way. Ian Scruton still hanging on to it. Wide move there by Richard Beach too, so good driving from Richard. The newcomers not interfering with the battle, and the three leaders emerge in the same order that they were before they happened across. These two drivers across the line again, and Ian Scruton still there. Rex Nye, what a great return to the championship it's been. I hope he comes out to play. That Scruton's thrown it away at Paddock Hill. Ian Scruton throws it away. Oh dear, is he going to be able to get going? Well, he's not, is he? Out of the... And we've got Thomas Hopkinson in 64 is off as well. So the Hurst-Pierpoint College car, I'm sure that was a reaction to Ian Scruton going off the circuit. He is stranded, and that is going to hand a win to Rex Nye, who, to be fair to him, was pressuring the erstwhile race leader Ian Scruton all the time. Nick Barton's going to take second place for sure. Here they come up around Clearways into Clark Curve. What a superb race it has been, and here is the race leader, but it's a red flag with 17 minutes or so of the race having been run with two beached cars. Well, if we'd have had a safety car period, then we'd have reached the end of the 20 minutes. So the race result will go back to lap 17, but having taken out the main causes of the incident, Ian Scruton was leading at that time, but on lap 18 he disappeared, so he's taken out of the result, and that means that Rex Nye is the winner of the race overall in Class A. Nick Barton taking Class B and the Class Fastest lap. David Elsom picks up the points for second from Chris Tomazas. Ken Bateman next from Keith Chapman. Michelle Edwards in seventh from Peter Lloyd. Richard Beach in 9th place, and Jack Williams coming home for a finish in 10th position. His first race finish. Well done, Jack.
Yeah, luckily I got a blinding start. Went 5th, and then coming out the second or third corner straight into first. So overall lead, and tried pulling out a bit of a gap. A bit of a quiet race from then, and then a couple of 1800s started getting involved, but I think finished second overall, so really good result, a lot better than the first race.
Yeah, I was pretty pleased. It was nice to have a full race and to get out there and move about the rest of the cars. There's quite a nice bit of competition out there, which is good to see.